Welcome once again to What's Out There, the paranormal podcast from Out There Paranormal.
Happy Halloween!
Yes, it is.
So exciting!
It is, isn't it? It's that time of year for paranormal groups to get overexcited and go out and see what they can find.
So, speaking for you today, we have...
Myself, Nigel.
And myself, Juliette.
We nearly forgot that bit.
I know.
We got so excited.
That's why I put it in.
It's spooky. It's Halloween.
It's great.
It is. So, what do you know about Halloween?
Me, personally.
Well, everybody, but yeah.
Okay, me personally.
Let's do,
Right,
yeah.
Halloween. Halloween is a time of tradition,
It is.
which has been bumped up by Hollywood and America, and we have all sorts of wonderful costumes and devils and ghosts and all kinds of skeletons and fantastic things and knocking on doors and trick or treat, which drives me potty because I always run out of sweeties every single year.
Yeah.
That being said, it is where the veil is thinnest, right?
It is indeed, yes. It's actually, you touched on, we were chatting about it earlier when you said to me, George, did it start in Ireland? And you're right, it did. It's related to a festival called Samhain, which is a festival of the dead, for want of a better description.
Symbol is...
The crow.
The crow.
So it is about, like you said, the veil is thinner, and it's a time when our ancestors can come across to see us. So rather than having these sort of, woo, everything's scary, or for want of a better phrase, ghoulies and ghosts and long-legged beasties and things that go bump in the night, it was actually a time when your spiritual ancestors would come back through the veil to see you, and you would actually then want to make sure that you were prepared for your honoured dead to come back. So you would do things like put out food, set a place at the table for your guests to turn up. It was more about that rather than anything else. So.
Which they still do in other countries as well.
They do, yes.
You know, they will actually bring out the bodies of relatives that have since passed and sit them up at the table to eat.
That is absolutely bonkers. I can't remember exactly where it is. I got this weird thing, it's somewhere like Indonesia, but...
I think it is.
Yeah,
I think it is
they
somewhere like
actually have people. And they're dressed like in their clothes.
Yeah.
They look like the mother from the film Psychos with
I
a
know.
rocking chair in the basement. Or just wheel out Grandad, sit him up the table. Wouldn't that put you off your dinner though?
Well, would there be any smell? I mean, just thinking, I guess maybe they were just kind of covered in herbs or something.
I'm assuming that.
know.
I mean, there must be mummified to a certain extent.
Or would a bit of somebody drop in your soup or something? I'm just putting it out there, okay? It's just these kind of things that would enter my head if I was to have a deceased member at my table, you know, with something land on my plate that I wouldn't want to eat.
Do you know what? I've got these horrible visions. I'm not going to go there because you know what I'm like.
Yeah, I do know what
Sausage
you're like.
casserole?
Oh,
Is that sausage?
Stop.
Or is it Granny's finger?
Why do we have to go there every single time you lower the tone?
I was going to say something else, but I didn't.
I knew what you were going to think and say. Dear me.
Off on a tangent.
As usual.
As we do. But yes, Halloween, it's a fabulous time of year for the paranormal community, and I expect lots of you are going to be out and about either partying or investigating.
Yeah.
Possibly even doing live shows tonight, podcasts and things.
We will be investigating, folks.
We will be
Because
investigating.
I have been nagging Nigel about investigating.
It's the usual nightmare that we have, and We're
going to do it.
We have a lot of things going on in our private lives, and we have to try and get those out of the way and then find the space. But we have actually got to a point where we're going to find some space.
Yeah, we're going to do one. You said to me today.
We are definitely doing
So
one.
we are going to be out there and not in here.
We're going to be out there. And what we're going to do is when we go out there, we're going to record ourselves out there and share it by coming back in here and then giving it to you guys to listen to.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That's the plan.
That is the plan.
A live investigation
Yeah.
So we've just got to remember to be incredibly descriptive about evereverything when we do this.
Rather than saying it's very dark and there's some trees, like I did last time round.
I was guilty of that too. I was guilty.
A little bit of poetic license, Jules.
Yeah, that's okay. We can do that.
We can do that.
We can do that.
We can
but
exaggerate.
we will. We indeed will do that. I'm not sure where we're going to go yet.
No, but there's a couple of... We were looking at the sort of the idea of putting a poll up and getting you to vote for it, but because we really want to try and get something done quickly, we're going to possibly look at a local site and just dive there and see if we can get in there and get investigations.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, we've done a haunted church, haven't we, before? So
yeah,
maybe we've done the woods.
we've done the woods.
The woods was terrifying.
The woods was terrifying.
Good Lord.
I think, you know what, I think Spooky Church and Graveyard might be a fun one.
Yeah, haven't we done that before, though?
But that was at Tivitshaw, but it wasn't a live broadcast.
Okay,
It was a live... Sorry, here we go.
All right.
It was a live broadcast, but it was a video one on Facebook.
You find a location and
Okay.
then you just plop me there and plop me there, and we'll go from there.
I've got the perfect place to plop you into, Jules.
Correct.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I'm just going to have a good look at it just to make sure that all the weeds and things have died off so we can get into it.
Hey,
But
listen. We've got to get on with this podcast.
we have. We're all excited about things in the future,
know.
but what we need to do is talk about what we've been doing recently.
Yeah. What have we been doing? We have been to Paracon 2024.
We have indeed, at High Wycombe.
It was fantastic. Well done to Ashley Darkwood for putting it all together. He did an amazing job at sorting that out.
He did, yeah. It really, I mean, to do, I mean, he did the work all on his own, from
Yeah,
what I can gather. It
really
was all his
impressed.
own sort of work. And to do something like that's not easy.
No.
But it was really, really good. It was a fantastic day.
And it was just so smooth.
Yeah.
Everything was organised. It was very smooth running.
Although he didn't know he was smooth running, did he? Bless him, actually.
What do you mean?
Whoa!
No, he was fine.
He was very
fine.
serene. He was like a swan, wasn't he?
He actually was. I thought he did a really good job. And even when one of the speakers got stuck
Yeah.
and, had a problem,
He still,
he did.
yeah, had someone to go in
Yeah.
and help him, didn't he? Who was it?
Us. Oh dear. Dear.
It was us, yep. But thankfully,
We did an all right job.
we did an all right job.
Yeah, I think we were fine. We
Honestly,
had no time. We literally had a few minutes.
we had 45 minutes
40, well, yeah,
to
but
actually
that's-
look at a presentation we did over 2 years ago.
But I had a sneaky suspicion. I don't know what it was. I had a gut feel. I had a gut feel that this was going to happen. I don't know why.
But I just wondered why you were saying to me, "Have we got something we can take with us?" And
I
we
just
don't
had a
need
gut
to.
feel. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Thank God we did.
Well, I couldn't bloody find it.
Juliette to the rescue again.
Thank God you still had
I
it.
had it. Yeah, I had it. I had a copy. So it was great. So we had a presentation that was ready to go.
And we actually got up on the stage and did it.
We did, and it was fine.
I'll be brutally honest with you now, Jules. I was bloody terrified.
Why?
I don't know. It's just standing up there on that sort of high stage and looking out over that audience of people, all these little expectant faces
No, it's
waiting for
fine.
you, and I'm
But
like,
the only
oh
thing-
God.
The only thing we had trouble with was the sound.
Ah, yes, but then
Nige.
again,
Again, microphone sound again.
it
Nige.
wasn't me. It was. I'm not even going to go to the technical things
No,
of it.
but
Basically,
it's fine.
I had my MacBook and they were using a laptop computer and plugging things in. They're plugging their
Yeah.
own sort of PowerPoint presentations. And there's mine on the keynote presentation on the MacBook. So I had to plug my Mac in.
But do you know what? It was fine.
But it
because
worked.
I just got the mic and shoved it at the Mac and it just came out on the speakers.
Smart thinking on your part.
Well, it just... I
Thinking
could
on your
see
feet
you
there,
close to
Jules.
having a meltdown. I was thinking, oh no. No. But it was fine. It was good.
Nigel's got his I've shit my pants face on. What do I do? No, it actually went, and it was well received as well. We had lots of people say to us afterwards that
Yeah.
it was good. And that was the beautiful thing about this day, is the fact that we only went there really to help Ashley to do the door. And we stood on the door and we were chatting to people as they come in, and we met so many lovely people.
We did. It was really, nice to see everyone.
nice people. And the people that actually got up on that stage and did their presentations, completely fascinating.
Yeah. Very polished, actually.
All completely different.
Yeah, very good.
You had a whole series of different talks, and it was nice to have that whole series of different things. To have us talk about investigation, Dave Holdren talking about UFOs, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
The first guy, Steve came on talking about his path moving from policeman to pagan, which
Yeah,
is really
absolutely.
interesting as well. Yeah, Anthony from Ghost Air with his sort of talking about how AI is going to affect the paranormal. He did some really good stuff. One thing that made me laugh with his was when he was saying about when you're doing YouTubes and you put your image up and you have to have your orgasm face.
Oh,
and I'm thinking, we got to go and change all our YouTubes now to us looking astonished and put the word demon on everything just to make sure
That's
that
right.
people watch you.
Absolutely.
But it was really, really good and thoroughly enjoyed all the talks and lovely to meet everybody as well.
And Dr. Ciaran O'Keeffe was there too.
He was.
And he gave his presentation.
He did a really good presentation. In fact, it's sort of interesting. It's always interesting to listen to what he's got to say because
fascinating. And of course, we were up after Ciaran.
it's like follow that, wasn't it?
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Like a mic drop moment. Bing, follow that, guys. Oh,
But
great.
it was good. It was fine.
It was good. It was really, really good. First time I've ever been to a Paracon. Didn't know what to expect. But I'm pretty certain now after going to that one, I'm going to go to a few more because it's really interesting.
Absolutely.
Not only that, just to it wasn't just a case of going and listening to people. Like I said, it was the case of going and meeting new people.
Yeah.
And I think that was the best part of the experience for me was the fact that we got to meet lots of lovely new friends.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really nice.
Really cool. We also managed to grab.
We did. We grabbed, not literally, Dr. Ciaran O'Keeffe
We did.
for an interview.
We did indeed. Where did we go?
We went to his office.
Oh my God.
I know.
It's like hallowed ground.
Oh my goodness me.
Oh, look. Oh my God. And it's exactly what you expect, but then not what you expect. Because he's got bookshelves full of books and amazing books.
The velvet pouch.
Ciaran produced his velvet pouch. Now, it's not what you think, boys and girls.
No.
He's actually got... Oh, Jesus, I can't believe he had that thing there. It's an original first edition from Antwerp from the 1600s exorcism book in Latin.
Yeah.
And it was just... Oh, my God.
It was diddy. It was in
Tiny
his
little
hands,
thing.
but it was fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating. And the books on his bookcase, I could have stayed there all day.
Yeah, absolutely. It was not what you thought. You're going to think there's going to be books on psychology and parapsychology, but there was books on all kinds of paranormal
he
stuff.
had some psychology, but you know.
He did, yeah, but he had all the fascinating ones. You look at him and think, look at that, look at that.
He's a really, really lovely chap.
Really
nice guy.
interesting person to talk to as well.
Yeah.
You can sit there and get lost and you listen to what he's saying and it all makes perfect sense.
Oh, so much. And, you know, it's nice that somebody like Ciaran in the field is sort of very much has similar opinions to us on things as well.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
You sit and chat to him, and it does inspire you to sort of do the things that you're doing and carry on doing what you're doing because you're never sure whether you're doing it right. Because let's be honest, all the paranormal groups do things differently. Everybody does things differently, and having like a set of basic guidelines to help, would it move the field forwards? It probably would.
Especially from somebody so knowledgeable as
Exactly.
Ciaran as
When you're
well.
listening to that and thinking to yourself, just take on board some of the things that he was saying and do that.
Absolutely.
And it's just really, rather than us like blather on about it, I'll tell you what we'll do.
Let's share it. You guys have a listen, see what you think.
Oh, here we are at the Wycombe Paracon, and we've managed to nab Dr. Ciaran O'Keeffe for another chat. Now, what I really want to approach you about is we were talking a little bit with regards to poltergeist activity and how you sort of come to sort of same sort of opinion that we have, that it's a label that's thrown on things rather than it being an actual phenomena as such.
Yeah.
So I just sort of try and grab your thoughts on what you think about it.
And it's a really interesting question, and it helps to give you my journey, which was as a parapsychologist, and any parapsychologist, when they go through their training, so when they come to a point where they may be doing a master's or a doctorate, or they're working at the Institute of Parapsychology, which a lot of us do over the summer periods earlier on in our career, you are told haunting experiences, they are location-based, and the duration of them is often long. Poltergeist cases are person-based, and they are frequently short in duration. And you're told that, and then you're told, of course, about the theory that William Roll put forward, this idea that poltergeist phenomena is caused by the person, and it's PK. Now, he didn't come up with that original idea. We think about William Roll coming up with it, but there's a precedent to that with some other researchers in the 1930s. That's by the by. As a parapsychologist, I was always taught hauntings and poltergeists should be seen separately.
Right.
However, over the years, because I'm a parapsychologist that likes to ghost hunt and likes to listen to people's stories, I slowly came to, and it was slow, I'll admit, but I started to slowly come to the realisation that actually distinguishing between the two, I think, can be misleading. I think if we start to categorise a case very quickly as being a haunting case or poltergeist case, ultimately biases us in how we then interpret phenomena as it happens going forward. And that was because of ghost hunting and because of talking to people about their experiences. And I was hearing them talk about an apparitional experience, for example. But then having seen an apparition, they would then say, oh, and we were getting loud banging on the wall and something moved. And I would go,
absolutely.
Okay, that's the banging and the things move. That's part of poltergeist law. Whereas the apparition is part of haunting experiences. And then quite early on in my career, I read Alan Gould and Tony Cornell's book about poltergeists, in which they did a survey of about 500 historical cases from the 1970s going back about 150, 200 years. And in that book, they looked at all of the characteristics that were reported in poltergeist cases. And as you look at that list of characteristics, you suddenly look at it and go, there's no difference. Some poltergeist cases have a mix of haunting phenomena and poltergeist phenomena. Some poltergeist cases have a single incident of an object moving, and the rest of it sounds like a haunting case.
Yeah.
And some of the poltergeist cases are actually cases where somebody has said, that's a poltergeist case, but for all intents and purposes, it looks like a haunting case. And so that's what I mean in terms of it being a journey.
Yeah.
That it was kind of that realisation of, no, I think it's quite dangerous to label stuff. And I know why we do it. As human beings, we instinctively like to label stuff because it makes the world simpler for us.
Absolutely.
It does,
You know, we just understand.
And not everything has got a label, has
Exactly.
it?
We
Yeah,
just
I can say
understand
that's
it, don't
that,
we?
but then, you know, like you said, sticking a label on is so dangerous because then it puts it into that box,
Yeah.
and then you don't want to look outside that box.
Yeah.
It's in that box, that's where it's going to stay. Like you said, our instinct to label things, we like to know it's okay, it's in there, that's where it's going to stay.
The whole
But
point of the paranormal as well is looking outside the box and looking at what it could possibly be, all the answers. And if you're limiting yourself and, you know, categorising everything specifically, you're never going to look further beyond that and figure it out.
But it's also difficult. I mean, I said it's dangerous, and maybe dangerous is the wrong word because it makes it sound like it genuinely is dangerous. It's not what I mean.
No.
It's, I think it's just about us trying to be careful not to immediately label. You know, and we could have Evelyn sitting here, my partner in crime on Uncanny, and she is a real advocate for labelling poltergeist and for a step approach. She's got that hollow scale that she talks about, which is brilliant. You know, she's done some analysis on that, and that's amazing. And we agree on a lot of things. And, you know, as part of discussing cases, you naturally fall into a thing to go, oh, that sounds like a haunting.
Yeah.
That sounds like, or that sounds like poltergeist phenomena. Or that sounds like haunting phenomena. So you might not be labelling the case, but you'll be labelling the phenomena in that way.
Yeah.
The danger, or the concern I have is that by doing that, you potentially miss phenomena. Because if you are thinking it's a poltergeist case, and somebody is in a room and they go, I feel like the temperature's gone down. And that's it, and they walk out of the room and it's that. That compared to a chair was levitating in a room, that particular experience about the temperature dropping seems insignificant and mundane and trivial compared to a chair levitating. Because you have said this is a poltergeist case.
Of course, yeah.
Whereas if you don't, and you say the whole thing is haunting experience, we don't know the cause of it, we don't know, you can place equal weight on the chair levitating as you can the temperature. because that experience, the temperature, might be more significant because it might be unexplainable. Whereas the chair, the levitating chair, might actually be might be explainable because the person was on drugs and they hallucinated it.
Sure.
Yeah.
But in the retelling and the categorisation, you might miss the temperature drop because you're so focused on poltergeist phenomena. Does that kind of make sense?
It's important to have all the evidence, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
have everything
Build
and
that picture.
treat everything with the same sort of level. So,
Yes.
like you said, it's important to say that's just as relevant as that because it's all in that same experience. So, when you're building a case, for want of an odd example, when you're looking at some kind of crime, it's like collecting the evidence and putting it together. You need to look at the whole picture, and every single little tiny piece is important.
Yeah.
So, like you said, you trivialise it and put one thing to one side, then that could have been really, really relevant in the great scheme of things, because there could have been other instances of that. There's only one instance of the chairs being stacked up, but there's multiple instances of the temperature changing. But everyone's put that to one side because, like
absolutely.
you said, that's a lot more scary.
But also, there's another concern, and that is, if you have a haunting case, and I say to anybody, what has caused those haunting experiences? In their minds, even before they answer and start describing it, they might go, "Oh, it's a ghost, something that was there before." Poltergeist case, what's caused that? Maybe it's a spirit that's there, or it might be the person causing it themselves. You know, immediately when you put that label in, you're biasing then your interpretation of the phenomena.
100%.
And, you know, that's the difficulty.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you're then looking for a way of explaining phenomena that doesn't fit with the poltergeist case. Or you're you know, the temperature example. So the levitating chair is the person has caused it with their mind. It's an example of PK. The temperature drop, you would have to fit that into a poltergeist typology and say the person themselves has caused that because they're reducing the temperature. But potentially you could be missing the fact that chair levitating could be the person causing that with that PK. But actually the temperature drop could be a spirit in that particular room.
Yeah.
Or the spirit could have caused the temperature, you know, the chair to levitate, but it's the person that caused the temperature. By not labelling, exactly like you said, Juliette, you're leaving yourself open to then multiple interpretations without bias. And I think that's the way that we have to start heading.
But there's too many people at the moment in the paranormal field labelling. Everything has to have a label. It's got to be this, it's got to be this, it's got to be this. Because there's so many people that are saying they're experts in this, experts in that, and everything. Yeah. And I think we just need to wind it back a little bit.
Exactly.
And look at it and just take that step back.
Take it back to a really basic level.
Well, yeah. I
mean,
that's
just say, look at everything that you've had
that's
there.
That's what we do, isn't
it?
We
do. I mean, we try our hardest when we've got evidence.
Yeah.
We'll look at it and say, could it be this, could it be that? I mean, we did a presentation here today, and a gentleman in the audience told us that he thinks there's a live firing site quite near the location that we were on. I don't think there is, but I can go back and investigate that. But at least then he's given me something else to think about.
Well, this is it.
You know, and then we're open to that because we're going to have a look at it. We haven't stuck that label on and said it's a time slip. We're just thinking it was an odd experience. What can it be?
Well, this is it, and opening it up to everybody else.
But then we'll ask the question and say, here's the evidence. What do you think? We present that everything we've got. We've got the sound. We've got the history. We could be just putting the two together and trying to make a story out of it because we're very, very good at doing that as well. It's human nature to do that. It's actually to think, well, I'm going to try and explain this because that makes it a perfect story because it goes with that, because that experience suits it. But then by offering it and saying to people, well, it could be this, what do you think? Then you throw it open to a wider audience and open to interpretation.
But also that open to interpretation is key when you start to talk about poltergeist phenomena and haunting phenomena in terms of looking at the possible explanations for what's going on. Because even labelling something as a haunting can actually send you down a path that could be misleading because the cause of it might be something else. And I'm not talking about sceptical stuff.
That's true.
I'm talking about paranormal. You know, I speak to a lot of students and I present them with a particular phenomena and I say, I want you to think outside the box. So an example being the levitating chair. Think outside the box. What could that be? Right? And so then you get a student going, maybe what it is somebody has died in the future and they've accessed the Akashic records and they've seen that there is a particular haunting associated with that particular house. And what they've done is they've managed to use a form of PK retrocognition to move the chair up from where it was, and go on to this. And then the student laugh, and this student says, sorry, it's a wild theory. And I go, why? It's the paranormal. Surely any theory is open to possibility.
Well, this is
any
it.
theory.
Yeah.
How can we say that phenomena in a haunting experience is down to a spirit? We cannot say that.
No.
We
haven't got the evidence.
There
to
are
say that.
individuals, and I know how you work, that, you'll talk
I
about
want to know.
sensitive and kind of, having a sense that there's something there.
Yeah.
And that's great, that's a level of evidence. But I think as if we start to interpret a case based on a particular definition, then that's wrong. It's the same thing, I mentioned about Evelyn and her scale. The advantage that Evelyn and I have is that when we do discuss a case like a poltergeist case, even she will throw in multiple interpretations of what a poltergeist could be. Tulpas, for example, this idea that you are almost psychologically manifesting an external spirit by thinking that there's something there. Not PK, but actually you're manifesting a spirit, a form called tulpa. So I love the idea of multiple interpretations, because it does then help by going, no, we're not going to label it specifically like this, because otherwise you potentially have solved the case.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's, again, that could be potentially very dangerous. So yeah.
Do you think we'll ever find an answer to this in the end?
I wouldn't mind if we did. I've still got a few years left in me, so I hope the remaining years of my life I'm still searching for the answer, because I find that more exciting, is the searching for the answer. I think there's research that's been conducted, and I think there's investigations that are being conducted that are giving us more understanding of what might be going on with particular experiences, but I don't know if we're genuinely going to get the answer. I don't know. If I did know, then I would be precognitive and I'd be able to predict the future, and wouldn't that be lovely?
Wouldn't it just?
Yeah, indeed. Okay.
Thank you, Ciaran.
That's great.
Thank you so much for your time.
It's a really interesting conversation. It's like I said, you can take away a lot from this, and I hope that sort of people would listen and understand and think actually to be that little bit more open-minded and to record the information just as it is, and then say, this is what we've got this and this is the evidence, let's have a look at it, rather than, like you said, let's bung a label on it and say it's this or it's this or it's this.
There's another part to it which is within para-ethics, which you guys know that I'm very much crusading on, is that if you're involved in a private case and you hear the phenomena from the witness and you say, this sounds like a poltergeist case, now not everybody knows what that means. And even if they did have some slight understanding, they wouldn't necessarily know everything about what a poltergeist is. But by saying that, and by giving it a label, you are then changing the dynamic between you as an investigator and that person as a witness. By saying, this sounds like a poltergeist case, you're effectively giving the power to you, because you are saying to the witness, I know more than you, I'm an expert. Whereas the root of para-ethics is recognising the person that has the experience is the person with the power. They're the ones that had the experience. They knew what happened. They know about the phenomena that happened. And it's down to them to tell you about the experience, not for you to go, your experience that I wasn't there for and I didn't have sounds like a poltergeist experience. Do you see the problem there?
I do. I remember something very important that you told us when we said about when we speak to people that have experienced a haunting, we said make a ghost diary, and you said to us, don't say the word ghost, just say the word diary, because you're immediately putting that idea in their head that there is something there. But if you ask them to make a diary recording the phenomena they experienced,
I did that, didn't I, this week?
We did, with somebody. So it is good. Brilliant. Yeah, it's a wise
diary of events.
Exactly.
Keep track. If you can tell us the dates and times, that's even better, because we can then sort of see if there's a pattern. But like you said, it's not putting that label on first.
Yeah, well, Hollywood doesn't help very much, does it?
No.
Because everybody's watching things on Netflix and, I mean, I had a case this week, didn't I, where somebody
experienced something
me,
in the house. Yeah.
What did they say? Can you find me somebody to exercise a house or something? They were And I was thinking, whoa, just hang on a minute. Let's
straight into an exorcism.
Because that's what they've seen.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely, there's a demonic presence in a property. Okay, why do you think that? And it's like a rewind. Let's start at the beginning. Let's do a diary. Let's see what's actually really going on, and start at the very beginning, and then see, based on that, what it could be.
Yeah.
And you immediately get alarm bells ring, and the first thing you say to the person is, I read through it, and they said they've just moved into a new house. Bing, alarm bells ring straight away. It's a new house. You're not used to the house. It's going to do strange things.
Yeah.
Straight away, you need a diary then recording what's going on, because it could well be your central heating that makes your floorboards creak. It could well be sounds carrying through from your neighbours.
Could be mould.
It could be
mould. Making people hallucinate.
Anything.
You mentioned about possession case. I can turn to a demonic possession case that I've got in one of these old books here that started off with somebody reporting that their keys had gone missing.
Yeah.
Now, there could be a sceptical explanation for that. We mislay things. It could be a poltergeist explanation for that. It could be a haunting case. It could be a PK case. But for the person to say it was demonic possession, and then, like you said, get in people that have that expertise, you can see then how dangerous that labelling is.
Yep.
Now, it's interesting you mentioned about private case, because, of course, the lovely thing about labelling, so the positive side of it, is if people who are having the experience label it themselves, you then get an insight into their belief, into potentially what they've watched, the influences, so it's helpful in some respect from a witness point of view, but I think as investigators, I think we kind of agree that it's slight, there's slight danger there, and immediately labelling what
someone's throwing the magic word in, and away you go. You're thinking, okay, where did that come from? Yeah.
Exactly.
And then you get the horror story about, we did this, and then we got someone in, and we got this group in, and they said there was and they could sense this demon, and you find it, and that's where you suddenly think, oh great. Then you've got to try and fix the damage that's been done.
Well, they did this particular one. They tried Ouija boards and communication devices and all this kind of stuff.
Not going to help.
And that I was just thinking, oh dear.
Not going to help at all.
No.
Straight away you're fighting a losing battle with that, because they've done that, and you're thinking, well, okay. You've then got to change your mindset and say, let's have a look at it. And they're going to be convinced that the evidence they've got is... And you do find that so often with private cases, that they're convinced there's something there, and they don't want you to go in and say, there isn't anything here.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear that.
No. Yeah.
They want to actually hear that we've got something in our house.
There's something in it, because they're almost proud of the fact that they've got something versus the neighbour that doesn't.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
Which is why we don't tend to do so many of them these days, do we, if we can possibly help. We will offer advice, but we don't tend to go and investigate private cases if we can possibly help.
Lovely chatting with you.
Thank
you so much, Ciaran. That's absolutely brilliant.
And all the best. Take care.
Thank you.
So there we are. Sage advice. I mean, there's 15, 16 minutes there of absolutely great material that people should listen to and take on board.
Yeah, he's so knowledgeable, isn't he, as well?
It's just, you can just drop stuff into conversations, and I'm thinking, where did that come from?
But everything he said makes perfect sense.
It does.
Don't ever jump to conclusions with paranormal investigations, or indeed, if it's paranormal.
That's right.
Because even, as he said, putting a label on something to say it's paranormal, you're still going down a route.
Yeah.
So always, always keep an open mind.
Exactly. Like we said, record your evidence, keep track of it. Really good example of this, in fact, was one of the talkers at the Paracon. We're finishing off on the Paracon. Was Patty, who's one of the people that shared a story on the Uncanny podcast series, and she experienced a poltergeist. But what she did, she kept diaries, and she'd drawn, because she's an artist, she'd drawn images of things that what she was feeling, and it was incredible to see that at that sort of level. Somebody could sort of share that experience like that, and for me, it brought her experience to life. And what Ciaran said earlier on about it's not the paranormal investigators that are the important part in these stories, it's the person sharing the story.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think what Patty did brought that to life.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's completely fascinating.
Because it just gives you that insight into what was actually really going on. And it wasn't a paranormal diary, it was a diary of events. It was. What was going on.
It was her own personal experiences, and that brought it down to that level where you were feeling what that person was going through at the time.
It was lovely to meet Patty.
It was.
She's such a nice
Another
lady.
fascinating person. And we are, at some stage, going to grab her for a chat as well, because she said she will come on and talk to us too. So, there we go.
That's it.
Paracon and Poltergeists.
We're all done.
We are indeed.
Happy Halloween, folks.
Enjoy your festivities, whatever you decide to do. Partying, trick-or-treating, just sitting indoors quietly, talking to your ancestors.
That's it.
Just have a fabulous time.
Bring out the dead.
Indeed. But don't go digging up Grandma. It's really not a wise idea.
No, not really.
No.
Don't let things fall in your soup.
God.
Sage advice.
I don't want to think about that.
No,
I'm
best
not.
not.
I'm not going there. Yeah, I had a vision. It's never
You
good.
and your visions.
We're going before I actually reveal my vision, and that's not so good. Have a fabulous, fabulous Halloween.
Take care, everybody. Keep safe. Have fun.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.